everybody, this is Elisa from Elisa's Art Room. Today I want to show you how to make faux leather paper, and I'm just going to do that. I'm going to show you how to make this. So you can see it kind of looks like a faux leather once it's made, and that's what we're going to be doing. So just all you need is some Kraft paper. So this is just a typical roll of Kraft paper I've cut to a small piece, and I get mine usually just at Dollar Tree. And then you're going to need some matte medium. Okay, I use the Liquitex Professional Matte Medium, and some sort of an ink. I'm using Liquitex acrylic ink in burnt umber and carbon black. You can also use distress ink, like a Tim Holtz type or something, but it's not quite as waterproof. Basically, the acrylic inks, once they dry, they don't get reactivated by water, but the distress inks can get reactivated. So that's the main difference. And then you're going to need something non-stick to put it on while it dries. I'm just using a cereal box liner. This is just from a box of cereal, and it's just the plastic that was inside there. And I think I'm going to use the other side, but you can use either side. Just keep in mind, actually, I'm going to use this side. You can use either side. Keep in mind, the shinier it is, the more shiny it will leave impressions on your paper. So let me see if I can show you what I mean. So on this one, there were just a couple little spots that are a little bit shiny. You see that? And that's just what happens when the glue basically starts to kind of stick to the surface, and it makes it just a little bit shiny. But the other side will be completely matte, so you can use, you know, that side for your project, but usually either side is usable. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do is put on gloves, because it's a messy job. And you're also going to need some water. It just helps make things go a little faster. So we're just going to use some water. This little spray bottle. This is just a Dollar Tree spray bottle. I use distilled water. You don't have to, but I tend to like to use distilled water just because I know I'm not adding anything weird to it. Just that one kind of needs filled, but that's all right. All right. So step one is to wrinkle up your paper. So just take it and wrinkle it up. And just unwrinkle it and wrinkle it up again. Okay, you want it to be nice and wrinkled. Now, I do this first because if you only do it after you've added the medium to it, it does become a whole lot more, it becomes more teary. It'll like tear easier. It becomes more delicate. That's the word I'm looking for. It becomes more delicate. So you do have to be a lot more careful with it. But if you go ahead and get your wrinkles in there before you start, it does help so that you don't have to do quite as much squishing. Okay, so I just get some wrinkles in there. And then I like to just wet it just slightly on the front and the back. This just helps the matte medium to kind of start soaking in there better. So I just give it just a little bitty spritz of water, and then I get my matte medium and just pour it on there. Now, I've seen this technique done with lotion. I personally don't think that you should use lotions, or I've seen people use all kinds of things in crafts, lotions or shampoos or things like that, because you never know what kind of ingredients you're adding. And if you're using a medium that's made for making things or crafting or painting, then you already know that's non-toxic, it's safe, it's made for that sort of thing. If I want to paint over this, I know I'm not going to have any issues with my paint sticking to it, because it is a paint, it's a paintable medium. So personally, I don't like to add other things like that. So that's why I don't use lotion. and the matte medium works just fine. Like I said, at this point, this is going to get a whole lot more sensitive, so you do have to be very gentle with it now. So just be a little gentler with it. Don't go crazy and, you know, unfolding it really fast or anything. Just be gentle. That way you won't get too many holes or tears. If you do get a hole or a tear, you can repair it with tissue paper. I have done that in the past, and it will repair fairly well with some tissue paper. And you just treat the tissue paper the same way. Basically just apply a little bit of matte medium on it and just stick it to the hole, and it works very well. Okay, so now I'm going to add just a little bit of color. Now I have taken my inks, just wipe my hand off. I have taken my inks and put them in a little bit of distilled water to thin them out. Sometimes I use them straight from the bottle, and sometimes I thin them out with a little bit of water, just because it makes it easier just to spray it. So the black, I'm not going to put a whole lot, just a little bit here and there. And then we're going to use a little bit of this brown just to give it some color. I think this actually is Distress ink. Yeah, this is the Distress ink. I don't have any of this in a bottle handy. I probably have some in a bottle somewhere. And then just add some color. And it can be any color you want. If you want it to look more natural, then of course use your browns and your blacks, and it will look, you know, more like a natural leather. And then I just kind of smush it around, get the color in there a little bit, and then I'm going to pick it up and flip it over. I like to go ahead and get that color on my plastic, and then I can get it on both sides. It's just a little bit easier. And the more splotchy you keep it, the better it will look. Like I said, it is very messy. It's a messy project. I am not going to lie. So we're just going to roll it up again and give it some wrinkles. Like I said, I try to do this gently because it will tear. And it probably depends on the type of craft paper you use. Not all craft paper is the same. Some of it is slightly thicker, some is a little bit thinner, some of it's a little shiny. I've seen different types, but just be very gentle when taking it back apart. That's the part that's the most dangerous for getting the tears in there. So just be gentle, and you can kind of just squish it here and there to get the wrinkles that you like. I like it to have as many wrinkles as I can get, but I try not to be too crazy about it because it just wrinkles up on its own, and all these little cracks and stuff will show up when it dries, even the ones you can't really see right now. Okay. So once you get it to where you think you've got it, the colors that you want, I don't usually worry too much about the back because it's rare that I use both sides, but do just make sure that the medium has gone all the way through and that both sides are coated. If you see any areas, like see that area right there is a little bit dry, go ahead and make sure you add just a little more of the matte medium to it, because it has to get into all of the paper. So just look for any dry spots at this point, and then you can decide if you want any more color to it or anything like that. But that's looking pretty good. Okay, and then what I like to do is at this point just go ahead and wash my hands off. I just have a wet microfiber cloth here, and then I'm going to switch the plastic to one that's not quite as messy, because it will not make as much of that shiny stuff on the bottom. If I let it dry on this, which has a lot of glue on it, it will make more shiny stuff. So just set it aside, grab another piece of plastic. And if you don't have plastic, you can use this silicone. You can use the Magic Media Mat from Tim Holtz. He has that Magic Media Mat that works very well too. Anything that won't stick is fine. I mean, you could probably just use wax paper. I don't typically like to use wax paper myself. I don't know why, but I just don't. So I'm just gonna do this very gently. Lay it back out on here. You do have to be gentle, so I'm just treating it with kid gloves. Okay, and that's all you gotta do. And if you want it to be just slightly more wrinkled, you can just kind of squish it. But like I said, usually the wrinkles just kind of show up, and I don't really find it's an issue with it looking wrinkly at the end. Okay, and just let it dry. It doesn't take that long. Maybe, I don't know, maybe an hour. I guess I've never really timed it, but just let it dry. And then once it's dry, my cat is growling in his sleep. He's probably having a nightmare. Once it's dry, it will look. Can you hear him? Oh my goodness. It will look like this. Okay. You can see it's about the same on the front and the back on this one. Sometimes they don't turn out the same, but this one turned out about the same. It's nice and thick feeling, and it feels, you know, it still feels like paper, but it does feel more leathery than it did. And here's one I repaired, just so you can see. So this one had a hole. So there was a hole all the way from here to here. And so I did repair the back with some tissue paper. I didn't wet it real well. If you wet it completely, it won't show white like that, but it will fill the whole in, so I can still totally use this side and it'll be fine. But so that's how that works, and it's fun. I've done journals with it and all kinds of things. I did just make a journal using this method. I made this journal, this Halloween Gothic Grunge journal, and it's got that paper on the whole underneath of this cover, and I even peeled it back and worked with it that way. So it is a very cool paper. Lots of good fun projects you can do with it. So I hope you all like this. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I will get back to you. And that's all. I will see you next time on Lisa's Art Room. All right, bye-bye.